So I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to travel to Italy to go to the Vatican, and most especially to go to the Sistine Chapel. Whether you've ever gone there in person or you've seen photos of the Sistine Chapel, you know that one of the most magnificent art pieces in all the world is, in fact, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, the place where so many important events happen. The most important of all will be when the cardinals go forth when they're electing a new pope. And perhaps the most important and impressive part of the story of creation that is on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel is that magnificent scene of the hand of God pointing out, and on the other side, the hand of Adam, signifying not only that God has created everything in the world, but especially all human beings who are the apple of his eye. But that painting also symbolizes that God is sharing his creative power with Adam and even all of his descendants. And that's an important thing for us to remember today as we celebrate this Labor Day. You know, as I was reflecting on the readings for today and reading some of the commentaries, that image of the Sistine Chapel and that painting of the creation really came to mind, and for very obvious reasons. In today's gospel, we see another opportunity where God, through his Son Jesus Christ, is taking his hand and pointing to the hand of a man whose hand was withered, and he's able to heal him. And this creation story that we heard today in the Gospel of Luke just shows how off the mark the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees were. Rather than taking in this creative moment when Jesus is healing somebody who needed healing, they look for ways in which to trap Jesus and to accuse him for somehow violating the Sabbath. And if the scribes and the Pharisees could only be honest with themselves, they knew that what Jesus was doing was in fact what the Sabbath was all about. To be there for other people, to enable other people to have joy and peace in their lives. And it's interesting that when we take a look at the man with the withered hand, one of the things that was pretty clear about that when he still had his disability was he was unable to use his hands for the work that every single person is given the opportunity to do. And Jesus is now healing him so that he can, as he leaves the company of Jesus, go out and do what he desired to do, to be an important part of society, helping to do his part to help the world become a better place to be. And you know, that's something that I think you and I need to think about today on this Labor Day. You know, I think in a kind of the secular way, we mark this as a day of picnics, and you know, in times past, it was a day of parades. You know, it's a time of getting together with family and friends. You know, it's a time to put away the summer clothes and start to look toward fall and winter. But there's something much more important about this day that we should think about in the history of our own country. We know that Labor Day became a national holiday back in 1894. President Grover Cleveland made this a national holiday, but it came at a time when there was a great deal of disrespect for human labor. It came at the time of the Industrial Revolution, when the agricultural sources that were the main economic strength for the country were overpowered by the Industrial Revolution. And what was happening is that laborers were being enslaved, if you will, working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just to get a basic minimum wage. And it was at that particular time that the worker movement really developed, and workers were now demanding their rights, that they be treated fairly, that they would be treated not as slaves but as human beings. And in the end, the Congress and obviously the president heard that. and established this national holiday. And over the course of the years, especially over the course of the last 100+ years, every single one of our popes has written an important encyclical reminding us that human labor is something that God, in fact, has shared with us. It's a part of the creative power of God in the world in which we live. What was symbolized with those two fingers, the finger of God and the finger of Adam, depicted in the Sistine Chapel. And it seems to me, my sisters and brothers, that what we need to be grateful for today are for the gifts that God has given to each of us. Gifts to be used, not for our own self-interest, but to use for the honor and glory of God and for the sanctification of the human society. And today we need to thank God for God sharing with us his creative power. But it's also an opportunity for us, especially as we reflect on the gospel today, to see is there something that is holding us back from recognizing our talents and using them. You know, perhaps what's holding us back is that we have a poor self-image. Or maybe other people have made us feel so. Or maybe we feel enslaved by something that's going on in our lives. Like the man with the withered hand today, on this Labor Day, we come before the Lord, and he can, in fact, free us of our mind, our hearts, and our souls so that we can rejoice that the Lord has given us gifts and talents that we not only can but must use if we're serious about our faith for the honor and glory of God and for the sanctification of each other. And so what we celebrate as a national holiday today is something that we have to celebrate as spiritual sisters and brothers of the Father every day. And so together with Father Steve and myself, I say, Happy Labor Day. But most important of all, let us rejoice that we can be co-workers in the vineyard of the Lord, using the gifts and talents God has given to us to help the world to become a better place. And that, my friends, is what it also means to be on mission for the church alive.